Alright guys, so in the last video we did our initial React setup. We also brought in the router. We surrounded our main div with the router tags and we implemented the app navbar component. So what I want to do now is just create some routes. Basically I want our main route, or I'm sorry, our main index page, which is going to be our dashboard. I want that to show when we just go to our root domain. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this H1 here. We don't want this anymore. And we want to just create a switch tag. And then all of our routes will go within this switch. Okay, so the first route is going to be, we're going to make sure it's exact. So we want to say exact, and then the path that we want to set for this route is slash. Okay, and then we want to say whenever we go to slash, we want it to load the component of dashboard. So we're going to say component equals dashboard. So that's our first route. Now we haven't brought in dashboard, so we have to do that. So let's go ahead and let's copy this down and we'll put in here dashboard, which is also in the layout folder. So we can go ahead and go like that. And we'll save that. Now dashboard is completely empty right now. So dashboard is going to be very simple. We're actually going to just use a functional component because there's no state or anything like that. It's basically just a parent for the client's component and for the sidebar. So I'm going to do RFC tab to create just a basic functional component. And we want to bring in the client. It's actually for now, you know what, for now, let's just put in an H1 and say dashboard. Just for now, just so we know that. Oops, I always spell dashboard wrong. I always get the O and the A mixed up. I just type it too fast. So in the app.js, you can see we brought in dashboard, and it should load this component now when we go to the main route. So let's check it out. And there we go. So dashboard. Now in the dashboard, like I said, we want to load the clients and we want to load the sidebar. So we're going to bring those two components in. So let's import clients from, and this is going to be .. to go outside of the layout folder, and then we want to go into the clients folder, and then we want to load the clients component. Okay, we also want to load the sidebar, which is in the layout folder. And I'll change this to sidebar. Okay. Now in clients, this is going to be a stateful component. So this is going to be a class. So let's do RCC tab, and then I'm just going to bring this export default down here. Export clients, and for now I'm just going to put an H1 in here that says clients. Okay, and then for the sidebar is also very simple. It's just going to have a button in it, so this can be a functional component as well. So we'll do RFC tab. It will have a button that is a link, so we want to bring in the link from React Router. React Router DOM, and let's see, for the return, we don't need a div. It's actually going to be the link element itself that we return, and we'll say to equals, and it's going to go to /client/add, which obviously isn't going to work yet, but we will create that route later. And then for the class, let's give it a button class. Let's say btn-success, which will make it green, and let's also make it a block level element. And then inside here, I want to just say new, like we're adding a new client, but I also want a font awesome icon. So I'm going to do I with the class of FAS and also the class of FA-plus, like that. Okay, and we'll save that. So dashboard is bringing in clients and sidebar. Now we just need to display those in the dashboard. So I'm going to just replace, actually we don't need that. Let's give this the parent div. We'll give it a class name of row because we're going to be using the grid. So we're going to have 2 columns. The first one is going to be a class of call-md-10. So it'll be a 10 column div. This is where the clients will go. So we'll put in our clients component here. And then we'll have another div with the class of call-md2. It's just going to be a 2 column div. And this is where the sidebar goes, which will just basically be that button. So let's save it and let's take a look. And there we go. So we have our new button. Obviously that's not going to go anywhere, but it will in the future. And then this will also load all of our clients in the future from Firebase. But I think for now what we should do is just create it so that it loads some clients that we just stick right in the file before we implement Firebase, just so we get the layout there. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to clients.js. And what I'll do is in the render right above the return, I'm going to create a variable called clients. And I'm going to set that just to an object with an ID. And this can be anything. And then let's do a first name. We'll say Kevin. Actually, clients, I'm sorry, this should be an array of objects. Like that. So Kevin. Last name, let's say Johnson, and what else do we have? Email, and phone, and balance. Alright, so balance, we're just going to say 30. Okay, and you can create another one if you want, but I think just having one is fine for now. So down here, we're going to want to check for clients, because remember, clients, it's coming in from somewhere else. It's coming in from Firebase, so we don't want to load the DOM. We don't want to load this part of the DOM before we get the clients. So let's say if clients, I mean, we wouldn't have to do this now because the clients, they're being loaded here, but it's coming from somewhere else. So we are going to want to do that. And then let's do else. And for now, we'll just return we'll just do an H1 and we'll say loading. We're going to have a spinner. I'm actually going to have a spinner graphic later, but for now we'll do that. And then we'll take this return and put that in here. Okay, and then I don't even want the H1 like this right here. So what we'll do is let's create a row. So this row is going to have 2 6-column divs. So we're going to say call md-6, and let's do another one, call md6. And on this side, we're going to have an H2. And I also want to do a font awesome icon in here. So I'm going to do an I with the class of FAS and also the class of FA-users. And then next to that icon, we'll say clients. Okay, so let's actually see if that comes out all right. Okay, good. So on this side, so basically if I just show you, this is a 6-column div. There's one here, and then there's also one here. On this side, we're going to have the total that's owed. Okay, so I'm not going to add that just yet. We'll do that after. But let's work on the table of clients, which right now we just have a static array right here, but obviously this will come from Firebase later. So let's create a table. And this, by the way, if I didn't mention this already, this is because there's a space here. This is in JSX. This will put a space. So let's see, we're going to go under the row, which ends here. And then we're going to create our table. So let's say table, and let's give it a class of table and a class of table dash striped. Okay, so in this table we're going to have a head, so let's do t head. I'm going to give this a class name of t head dash inverse, which will make it dark. And then inside here we'll have a table row with some table headings. We'll do table headings times 3, and let's do name, email, balance, and then we actually want a fourth table heading. We can actually do it like that because that's where the details button is going to go. It doesn't need in the row, or I should say in the body, that's where the details button will go. We don't need a heading for it though. So that's the headings. Now let's do the body. So we'll go under the T head, and let's put in the T body. And then this is where we want to actually loop through our clients. And then for each one, we want to output a table row. So we're going to put in an expression here. We're going to say clients, which we have above. We want to map through these clients. And for each one, we'll call it client. And then we're going to set an arrow function. And then for each one, what we want to return is a table row. So I'm just going to go down here and say tr. And each one is going to need a key. And for the key, I'm going to use the client ID. So we'll say client.id like that. Okay, we'll do closing table row. And then inside here, we want to basically have a column for each piece of data. So we want the name. And for the name, I'm going to put the first name and the last name. Remember, up here in our object, we have a first name and last name. Same thing within Firebase. So right here, let's do first name, or actually, I'm sorry, it's going to be client dot first name, and then a space, and then we'll do client dot last name. All right, and then under that, we'll do another column, and we want the email here. So let's say client dot email, and then let's do what's next, the balance. So client dot balance, and then we want the details button. Now the details button is going to use a link, so we need to import that from React Router. So import link, and that's going to be from React Router DOM. Okay, we'll go back down here and let's put in that link. And then the to attribute, it's actually going to be a dynamic, what the hell? It's going to be a dynamic URL because it has to include the client ID. So I'm going to put in these curly braces, and I'm going to put in a set of backticks here so that I can do /client/ and then I can put in a variable with the template literal syntax. This is ES6. Okay, so in here I want to put the client ID like that. So it goes to client / and then whatever the ID is. So that'll be the link, and then let's also give this a class name. Let's see, class name is going to be btn-secondary. So it'll be a gray button, and then let's make it smaller. So btn-sm. And these are just bootstrap classes. Okay, and we'll just say in here details, but I also want an icon in front of it. So I'm going to say I with the class of FAS, and then we also want a class of FA-arrow-circle-right, like that. Okay, and I think that's it. I think it should work. So let's save, and let's go back to Chrome, and there we go. There's our first client. So obviously this is not coming from Firebase. You guys know that. It's coming from this static array right here. If I were to take this and copy it and then put another one in here, we'll just change this up a little bit, and we'll change it to, let's say, Bob Jackson. And we'll say Bob at Gmail. And we'll change his phone number up a little bit. and balance will say 1,000. It's fine. And save, and then if we go back, you can see that he's been added here. Now I want these numbers to be parsed as floats, okay? So we want this to look like currency. We also want the dollar sign and so on. So where we have client balance, I'm going to put a money sign in front of it so that it looks like currency. And then I'm also going to wrap it in a JavaScript function called parse float. Okay, so we want to wrap this client balance in parse float, and then I want 2 decimal places, so I'm going to add .2 fixed. So 2 fixed and then 2 decimal places. So this has nothing to do with React. This is just JavaScript. I'm sure most of you guys know that. And then we're going to save this, and let's take a look. And there we go. So $30, $1,000. Good. So yeah, and let me just check one thing. If we were to say like 1,000.43 and take a look, 1,000.43, good. So in the next video, I think that we're ready to start working with Firebase. So we're gonna create or install the React Redux Firebase library. We have a lot of boilerplate to set up as far as Redux, as far as our store goes. So we're going to take a break from the UI, stuff like that. We're gonna do our setup for that, and then ultimately we want to bring these clients in from Firebase as opposed to just static objects, static array of objects. All right, so I will see you in the next video.